Hello there, my crafty friends. Today I have a really special project for you. We are going to make a string art design. Look how beautiful this is. So I've got the nail string art heart up top, and then I put a vinyl on the bottom. This is just going to lean against the wall on my mantle, but you could certainly put hooks on the back of it to hang it on the wall as well. So without further ado, let's jump into Silhouette Studio and get started. So here we are in Silhouette Studio. As you can see, I am in Business Edition. Shows you right up here. And with Designers Plus or Business Edition, I have these flexi shapes that I can automatically make a heart shape, which is what we're going to use for today. If you don't have those editions, you can either use a triangle and some circles and make yourself a heart, or find a heart SVG file somewhere for you to use. But I'm going to go ahead and use the flexi shape, and I'm going to draw out my heart shape. I'm just going to pull that down, and I'm going to make mine about 8 inches, close enough. With the aspect ratio locked, I can go ahead and I'm going to do mine exactly 8 inches wide. That looks good. I like the way it looks. Now I can click and convert to path. So now I have my complete shape. And my piece of wood is actually about the same size as this piece of paper here, which is great because now I can get this set up exactly where I want it. So I'm just going to center it to my page, and then I'm going to come over to the rhinestone panel, and I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. So we can do this in the rhinestone panel with it selected. I can go ahead and do the outline, and you see it's going to cut all those circles, and that's a little bit too close together. So I'm going to adjust my spacing, and you can do that by just coming over here and hitting the button. I think that will be okay. So that's doing it with the rhinestone. And actually, I'm just hitting Control and Z to undo. Let's make a copy. So I'm going to hold down Control and copy to the left. So this first one I'm going to do with the rhinestone panel. So again, I'm just going to grab that. It's got my size. It doesn't really matter on the size. My spacing's at 0.5. I like the way that looks. And then this other one here, if you don't have the rhinestone panel because you're using the basic edition or something, you've got your stipple panel, and you can click on here and hit stipple edge, and then you see it went ahead and put all those dots there. Again, you can adjust how spaced out they are, and then that's the most spaced out you can get. So you can see they're going to be a lot closer together. You can also decide to only use every other hole, or however you would like to do that. So that's how you can do it with the stippling, and you're going to basically get the same effect. Again, you're going to get a lot more dots here. So from this point, you can decide either to print, and if you wanted to print it, what you need to do so that you can see your dots, you need to give the line color a point value. So I would need to turn this up. I turn it up to at least 1, and then give it the color you want. For me, I think black will be fine, or I can even fill it in with black so I can see the dots. And then you can go ahead and print this. The other thing you can do is use it and cut it out, and then it's going to cut those holes, and then you know you're going to put your nail right through the hole. So either way is going to work just fine. So I am going to have to cut it. So I'm going to cut out, it's going to cut these circles out, and I am going to use my Cameo 5 with my electrostatic bed. So I'm going to come to my page settings. My cutting mat is going to be the electrostatic mat. Media size is going to be letter size. And then I can come over to the sun panel. I'm gonna use copy paper with my auto blade. That's all set up. I can go ahead and load everything into the machine and get it cut out. All right, so first things first, I have my electrostatic mat placed here. I've already powered it on. This is the protective layer. It's on, it looks good. If I try to lift an end and just place it back down, seems like that's not moving anywhere. So I'm just gonna get all the bubbles out. Okay, that looks good. And then I've got my sheet of copy paper here, real thin. I'm gonna go ahead and you can see it's already sticking. I'll line that up in that top corner, all the way down the edge here. Now we're on there nicely. Again, I'm gonna brush out all the air bubbles. Okay, that looks good. And you can see it's not going anywhere. So this guy is ready. I'm gonna load in and then I'll go ahead and send it to the machine. Now it's gonna cut out all of the tiny circles that we used to make the outline of our design. All right, it's done cutting. We'll go ahead and unload. I can pull this back. I'm gonna turn off my electrostatic mat. Give that a second. And then this is my template. And you can see now I've got all these little dots. Okay, so there's my sheet with all of my dots cut out. And then here I have all of my dots are on this electrostatic mat. And now I can just take this and pour them all in the trash and we're done. All right, I have my template all cut out and ready to go here. It might be hard to see the holes in it, but I have my template, and then here is my piece of wood. I have already stained it and then I put a clear coat on it. So it is ready to go. And then what I'm gonna do is take my heart template, I'm gonna turn it to face me, and then I'm gonna find a spot on here where I want it. And I think I'm gonna put this a little bit closer towards the top, and then I think I might put a vinyl down here. So I've got a bunch of knots on the wood on this end, so I think I'm gonna put those knots at the top end. So it'll be like this. Might have to, the hard part's going to be you don't want to end up putting nails through those knots. But I'm going to get this centered on my board. So my board here, I'm going to scoot it over. I've got it on my on my self-healing mat. And it's just over 11 inches. So that tells me I got just over, this is 8 inches. I have just about an inch on each side left over. And then, like I said, I'm going to put a vinyl down here on the bottom. So I'm going to put this up a little bit taller. I like where that is right there. I think I'm going to go ahead and tape down this stencil so it doesn't move. I have some just clear Scotch tape sort of tape, and I'm just going to put a little tape in the corners. And this is just so that as I'm hammering in those nails, hopefully nothing will move. Okay, so I've got that ready. I've got a box of nails. This is just nails I had laying around the house. These are hot dipped galvanized, and they're 1.5 inch. Again, this is just what I had left over for some projects I did, so that's what I'm using. You could certainly use small little finishing nails, would probably work just fine as well. I just wasn't going to go to the hardware store and buy anything else. So I'm going to use my nails here. I've got my hammer, and I'm just going to, the hard part's going to be trying to keep these at about the same distance, the same height. I'm just going to start down here. Okay, we have all the nails hammered in, and I tell you, never have I ever had so much trouble hammering in a nail strip. But I did not take the time to sand down my board, so it's a little floppy, and I'm sure that has something to do with it. But I'm going to go ahead and peel up my tape. We'll take off the paper. And this is why you use paper, so that way you can just rip it off around all the nails, because the nails are not going to go anywhere. They are in there good and snug. And I have a lot of debris on my paper, and that is because I had paint on my hammer, so it knocked off all that paint. So as long as your hammer is clean, you will not have near as much debris as I do. Okay, and then any spots that still have some paper on there, I'm just going to try to get in there best that I can and peel that off. You may need to use a pair of tweezers to peel off the rest of that paper. You can go ahead and do that, and then we'll go ahead and start adding all of our lovely string. So it's time for the fun part where we add the string. So I am using, this is just your average floss. You could certainly use yarn if you wanted thicker string through there. You could double it up, however you want to do it. And I haven't decided what color I'm going to use, but I am going to start with this kind of darker pink. And then if I decide to later, I can go ahead and switch out my colors and make this a multicolor. But for now, I'm just going to do this pink. So I'm going to grab one end. Make sure we got the correct end. Good. And what I'm going to do is tie a knot in the string. And then I'm going to put that, I'm going to start here, that around there, tie it down. And then I'm going to knot this a couple times. I'm going to do 3 knots, and you'll notice I have the knots facing towards the inside of my heart. And that is so when we are done, all of the rest of that will end up getting covered up by all the rest of the string layers going around. You won't see those knots. And then I just cut off the extra on the one side, and then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to go around the outside edge. And then I'm going to push that string down to the bottom. And I am going to loop around every single nail. And I think I'm probably going to go around everything twice. Make sure I have a really good thick outline. And you'll see I'm just wrapping around each nail, and then once you get so far, it's good to come back through and push. And these you may need, might be easier to do with a tool. Go ahead and just push all of those down to the bottom. might be good to have your weeding tool. So I've got my weeding tool here, and I'm using that to just help me push all of these down to the bottom. Or if you've got fingernails, those work too. Okay, you see I've got all of those pushed to the bottom. That looks good. Okay, and then I can carry on. So because my nails are completely not straight, I do have a bit, they're not as going to be as spaced out as if they were straight. Some of them kind of lean into each other. So it is not super easy to get around each of these nails. But I'm just going to continue doing this around the entire outline. Okay, whoop. So when you're done with this, if you like the way it looks, and you know what, you see how I've got all my loops on the inside, you can't actually see the outline. So now what I'm going to do, because I goofed, I am going to go on the outside and make that on the outside. So you probably want your loops to be on the outside of the nail. So I'm going around the outside, the back side of the nail, coming around. So now my loop is on the outside. And that's probably what I should have done from the beginning. And you can see now this is too tight, I can't move it. So the nice part is it's really easy to undo. Give yourself a little bit of slack to push everything back down to the bottom. Once you got everything pushed to the bottom, then you can go ahead and pull it tight. I have the outside done. I counted the nails. I have 39 nails. And then I went ahead and I took this string and I tied it to the nail here. And then you're gonna go opposite. So if I'm gonna start here, my opposite is probably going to be here. And then you're going to make sure you're moving in opposite directions. Actually, I think my opposite will be this one. So I'm gonna come in, come around. I'm gonna go all the way around this nail, loop it around, and then with this one, I'm gonna go to here, loop it around there, keeping that pressed down, and now here's where you have to come and do the opposite. So now I'm gonna come this way, and I'm gonna, up here, I'm gonna move this direction, down here, I'm gonna move this direction. And that is how you're gonna get this really filled in, and it's gonna give you this really cool pattern. Press that down, come around this nail, press that down, whoops, and then try not to get the other nails while you're doing it. And then you just keep carrying on like this until, if you're gonna do one color, you're gonna do this just all the way. If you're gonna do more than one color, depending on how many colors you're using, will dictate how far around you go with this. So I'm going to end up doing, I think I'm gonna try, we'll see what this looks like, how filled in this is when I get to halfway. And then depending on what it looks like, I may decide to go halfway, or I may decide to do the whole thing this color. Okay, so I am out of yarn on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and just tie it around this nail. And I'm going to do 3 knots so it's good and secure. Okay, I can cut off the extra. And then I've got more of this exact same color. So I'm going to open this up, find the part of the string that's running on the outside. So it'll be this piece here. And then since I'd only started here, I'm going to come back to that same nail, get that pressed down really well, and then I'm going to tie my knot. And I'm trying to tie these knots so that the excess string will end up on the inside of my heart so I can cover it up as we put more string on there. It should cover up that knot. So this time I just, instead of tying it around the nail, I just tied the string in a knot around itself. It doesn't matter. You just want to get it a knot around there so it's not going to move. Okay, so we've gone around. I'm just going to pretend this is my carry-on, and then I'll go around this one. So we're just going to keep, whoops. And I'm just going to press that down, and I'm going to keep going around. Okay, and then that is, it's completely done. I'm gonna cut a little bit here, wrap that around, and then I'm just gonna use this string here to help me tie my knot. So that actually ended up doing the whole thing in one color. Now, if I wanted to, I can go back. Let's make sure that's tight the right direction. There we go. I can go back in with another color now and add some more, which I think that would look really neat to just do. I did it full in one color first, so that way it is nice and full. And then let's see what happens. We'll pick a different starting point, so it gets a little bit of a different, where this will gather will be a little bit different. And I think a good color to really offset that, let's use this lovely red. I think that'll, it doesn't stand out, but maybe with this pink on the background behind it, push those last few down. I'm hoping the red will stand out really well. So since I started there, I'm gonna start over on a side. And this time I'm gonna start right here. So I'm just gonna tie this on. That is good and tied on. We'll cut off the extra. All right, and then we're gonna do the same process as we did before. We're gonna go straight across. Should be this one here, wrap it around. Okay, and then I'm gonna decide to come up to this next one. Wrap it around, push it down, and then come down here. Wrap it around. here, wrap it around. Okay, I love the way that looks with the two colors. The little bit of pink under there helps that red pop out a little bit more. And I think I'm gonna leave it like that with the string. Now what I'm gonna do is cut out a permanent vinyl. I'm gonna cut out Love, and we'll put that right here at the bottom part of the board. And then we'll be all set. So I went ahead and wrote out the word love, and then I drew that line there. Instead of doing a weeding box, I just am gonna cut it right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and send this to the machine to cut. And it's giving me the warning that some of the stuff is overlapping the edge. That's my line. I'm okay with that. And then here we are. We're gonna cut that out. My love out of permanent vinyl, and I'm putting on the transfer tape. I cut my transfer tape a little bit bigger than my design because, well, I have a terrible time putting anything on straight. And then I'm just going to use my scraper to help me keep my transfer tape nice and wrinkle free as I apply it to my vinyl. So I'm just scraping that on there. The pressure is also helping the transfer tape pick up the vinyl off of the carrier sheet. I'm just going to give all those letters a really good scrape to make sure they're going to stick to that transfer and peel away from that backing. When you think the vinyl is good and pressed on there, go ahead and flip everything over and peel the backing away from the vinyl. My L didn't really want to come off, so I'm going to grab it from a different spot, and that looked perfect. So now I'm going to try to get that centered onto my wood. And I'm using the backing to help me kind of lay out where I want that to be and make sure it's good and centered. And so I'm also referencing the bottom tip of the heart to find kind of the center. And then I'm going to lay my transfer over that. And then knowing I've got 4 letters, I'm trying to put that center point right in between the O and the V. But really, I should have moved it a little bit further towards the V, but live and learn. It's a craft project. So now I'm going to use my scraper, and I'm going to go just over those letters. I'm trying not to scrape too much on the wood and try to just get right over those letters. I don't want to mess with any of the coating or anything I put on the wood. I'm just giving those a good scrape, make sure they're pressed down really well so that everything sticks, especially because I did not sand the board beforehand. So it definitely has some texture to it. So I'm just going to take some extra time with that scraper. And then it's time to slowly peel back that transfer sheet and make sure that everything stays stuck to the wood. And I did notice some of the kind of stain and things that were on the wood are coming off on my transfer. So that's why, again, I was just trying to press only on the vinyl and not on the wood with the scraper. And this E especially has a couple little spots that didn't really want to lay down. So I'm again going to go over just the vinyl with my scraper and get that pressed on there really, really well. Especially because I treated this wood, I stained it, and then I put a clear coat on top of it. I want to make sure that this is going to stick down really well, especially with that clear coat on there. It's got a little bit of a shine and a tackiness to it, so it could make the vinyl peel up. So I'm just going to scrape that down really, really well. And when all that's done, our project is finished. Look how awesome that looks. It is going to look perfect sitting on my mantle for Valentine's Day and beyond.